Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We have a special guest in the building. Her Wi-Fi is way better than Charlamagne's, though. It took a long time to get connected, but it's still better than Charlamagne's. We have Eboni K. Williams. Welcome back, sister.
So good to see my family in
What
these
up,
times.
I'm so happy to see
Brother
you.
Charlamagne, sister Angela Yee, you know how I feel about you. Brother Envy, y'all are doing important work, and I thank you for letting me join you.
And congratulations to you, Eboni. I see you have a new show on Revolt, Black News. So it's going to come on, twice a week?
Yeah, so we'll be twice weekly, Angela. We'll be Tuesday and Thursday evenings, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific time. And it's going to be a fantastic news hour, y'all. I mean, y'all know the best. We've been needing this. We've been needing news that takes our cultural vantage point and considers our interest, right? And collaborates that with deep analysis and conversation. So it's going to be dope. And I applaud Puff, the chairman, of course, of Revolt, and the Revolt leadership team for really making this happen.
Well, that should have been common sense, though, because
well, you know what?
It should have been had you hosting that show. That should have been common sense over there.
Well, you know, I ain't gonna say nothing about that, Charlamagne.
Right. But we are very happy for you. Listen, unfortunately, my cable provider doesn't have Revolt, so I'm gonna have to send them
Well, you know, that's shade, Angela. You know, that's shade.
I'm gonna have to get. I want to get it. We'll have to watch you online, though. We'll have to watch you.
Yeah, you can definitely. And listen, that's a lot of people watch State of the Culture, even right on YouTube, and it's good. It's a good look. So we want to keep that energy there for sure.
Well, let's get to some topics, right? Like, I want to know, why is defund the police such a trigger to people? Why are people so upset about that term?
Yeah, people are entirely triggered by it. And here's the thing. We on this platform, in this space, doing the work that we do, we know what that means. When they say defund the police, we know that doesn't mean dismantle the police. We know that simply means the police are they are out of their lane with a lot of the work that they're asked to do and sometimes take upon themselves to do. So all we're saying is take some of those millions, and in the case of a state and city like New York, it's billions. They got $1 billion budgets for police here. So we take some of those billions and millions and redistribute that money elsewhere in the community, so we can have what we've been promised so long: community policing. Right? So that goes to schools, that goes to community centers, that goes to after school programs. So it takes some of that responsibility, if you will, off of police, because they're really not supposed to be doing a lot of that part of it anyway. They need to worry about enforcing laws and let communities take care of themselves. That's what the defund the police. But here's the problem, though, y'all. In my professional opinion, slogans, they can't even be a little bit hard to interpret.
Yeah,
we can't afford it, right? So the problem with defund the police is the rhetoric, the mere semantics of it, y'all. It's clear what we mean by defund the police, and I just think that part of it's on us.
Because defund, people think that means take away all the funds, because that is
eradicate
kind of what it means. And what I love was what Chance the Rapper, he said, well, they defund the education system all the time, so I don't see why this is what people are upset about. But I understand what you're saying.
But they don't call it that. Yeah, but they don't call it. See, they don't call it that because if people say we don't defund Social Security, they wouldn't get elected. If people say they're going to defund Medicare, so people, what do they say instead? We're going to lower taxes.
Right.
So perhaps that would be the messaging point here, right? What if we said we would like to save people money, all the citizens of America, we'd like to lower your taxes by redistributing the funds for law enforcement. People would probably buy that.
Don't you think it's crazy that we don't even know where the money goes? Like, we pay the $6 billion because it comes from our taxpayers' money, but we don't necessarily know where this $6 billion goes. Like, I want to know where this money's going first. Like, let's figure out where this money's going. Where are we spending $6 billion in New York City and billions of dollars and millions of dollars in all these other places? Isn't it weird that they don't open up the books and say, hey, this is where the money's going?
Well, it's not weird because a lot of the money is going into their pockets. Oops, did I say that out loud on this platform? Here's the thing, Envy. You're hitting to exactly why, personally, I have extremely conservative fiscal politics. I think the government has been a shitty steward of our money since its inception. I think we spend billions and millions in ways that we'll never see, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's our roads and highways, our schools hardly publicly aren't hitting on shit. You know, we're spending money there, but we're not seeing a result. We're spending money on, like you said, billions of dollars on military grade equipment and all this shit. It's nuts. So that's a whole nother conversation about politics based in really financial money grabs. You asking for billions and billions, trillions of dollars from us as taxpayers. That's our money. That's our hard-earned money. Y'all be taking a good 40% of my income and doing what with it exactly? Right. I don't like the return. I don't like the return.
You're in a high tax bracket, I can tell. They take 40%?
Girl, they take 40%. Now I'm working on trying to get my write-off situation straight. But right. But yeah. I'm actually in the worst tax bracket, Angela, because I make just enough money to be in the worst bracket, but not enough money to start getting advantage of all of the highest, the millionaire, the multi-millionaire brackets, right? Where now they're getting tax breaks beyond belief. And those people really end up paying closer to 22%,
That's crazy.
And it's crazy.
Hey, you spoke about messaging, which I think is very important. Why can't Democrats get their messaging right? And this is what I mean by that. When you ask Joe Biden about defund the police, I think he got it wrong. I think Senator Harris got it perfectly. Senator Harris explained it the way you explained it. Donald Trump took that defund the police and said they want to defund the police, they want to abolish the police. Two different things. But it worked. Why did that stick more than what Senator Harris said or Joe Biden said?
Well, the answer is cognitive dissonance, which is a way in which people believe what they want to believe. And if you give them just an inch, so that's what Trump does. Trump does this shit all the time. He did it in his campaign. What do you call them? Deport the Mexicans. And by that, he says, I just mean the murderers and the rapists and the drug dealers. But we saw when it went into actual action, that wasn't who was being deported at all. You're deporting children. You're deporting, people that have paid money into our tax system for 30 years. You're deporting people that served in our United States military. But the messaging was so strong, and it's what his base wanted to hear, that it worked. So, Biden messaging ain't his strength, Charlamagne. What you want me to say? It ain't his strength.
Well, Eboni, since we're talking about messaging, right? Another thing that you spoke about, and I saw you speaking on this, is the hold your vote hostage and the messaging behind that. So I want you to explain what you said about why it is important for us to not put out that type of messaging.
Indeed, sis. So I personally, I really hate that messaging. And I think it's extremely problematic. I think it's extremely dangerous for two reasons. I'll start with the basic premise that folks in general, and so that includes us as Black folks, we don't want to go to vote at the polls, no way. We already don't want to do that. So all people need is that reason. So if they get to say idols, like my brother here, Charlamagne, and idols like my boss at Revolt, Puff, and other major credible leaders in our community are giving them, using my term here, an excuse to stay at home anyway, not have to go out, and don't let it be raining on election day. Our asses ain't trying to get out there, So then they get to say, don't got to go anyways. We're having a substantive boycott on the issue. And just like in 2016, when, as you talked about this recently, Charlamagne, on MSNBC, over 4 million people stayed home. And we see the devastating, and a third of them were Black. And Michelle Obama spoke about this in her documentary, Becoming. She's really mad at us. She's really pissed because she's like, we did all that work over 8 years. And in just 3.5, Trump has dismantled at least half of it, if not more, literally. And so, damn, that's what happens when we, to me, abandon our post. That's what we did in 2016. You might not like Hillary Clinton. I personally am not really a fan of Mrs. Clinton's. That's not the point. The point is we abandoned our post. We took our foot off the gas, and now we got to do some backtracking just to get to where we were. It can be done, but it's not going to be done with no messages talking about hold your vote hostage and boycott the ballot. That ain't going to do it. Second thing I have with it, Ange, is here's the thing. Unpopular opinion. Black people make a huge difference in elections. That is correct, Charlamagne. We saved Joe Biden's political life in South Carolina. You are absolutely right about that. Black women and black men in Alabama saved the United States Senate when they elected Doug Jones and kept a pedophile out of office. Yes, that is wonderful electoral influence. We are influencing those elections to give us outcomes that we desire. Great, important work, necessary work. Don't for one second mistake that as political power. That is not political power. Let me tell you what political power is, Shar. Political power is when you can pick up the telephone and you can call your sitting U.S. senator, your sitting U.S. congressman, your sitting mayor, your sitting governor, your sitting United States president, and they take your call. Your call directly is either an individual or an organization, and act. Why? Not because you voted for them, because that's really a kind of back-end transaction, the voting part. Nah, they pay attention to, and they are politically powered by front-end transactions. Front-end transactions is funding their campaigns from its onset. So I'll tell you who has political power. I've spoken about it, but I'll tell y'all again. Planned Parenthood has political power. Planned Parenthood ain't never worried about their budget being right because they have such political power, y'all. They give so much money to these candidates, congressionally, state legislature, federal, president, that they budget, they always gonna get their bag. The Planned Parenthood gonna always get their bag. You know who else gets their bag and gets their legislative desires? Gun reform will never happen. You know why? The NRA's political, man, that's some political power for your ass. The NRA has political power. AIPAC, they gonna get Israel what it needs. Israel's gonna give 500 billion or something like, no, I'm sorry, 50 billion every time they ask for it because AIPAC has political power. AIPAC members put so much money into politics. You know, we Black folks, we love to pay our tithes, and we should do that. But the Jewish community members, I know y'all, treat AIPAC like it's tithing. They pay it like it's a bill because they know their political life and their community interests depend on it. So when Black people start creating, I don't believe in changing systems that we already know work a particular way, y'all. Now, some people do, and they do that work, and I'm proud of them, and I love them, and I support them. I like to see what people are doing that's working. And don't take my word for it. I'm sure y'all are familiar with The Black Godfather, the Netflix doc highlighting the great Clarence Avant. Man, Clarence Avant said it already, Shar. He said, either you buy your way into the country club or you stay a damn caddy. And I ain't no damn caddy. That's what he said. And he was referencing when he gave Bill Clinton $1 million out of his own pocket. And Clarence Avant picked up the phone and called Bill Clinton. Bill, like, Clarence, what you need? That's political power.
But what about regular everyday people who just want to leverage their vote? Or what if regular everyday people decided, you know what, I'm going to form my own political party. Black people are going to have their own party like the Tea Party, and we're going to vote in blocks. Because everybody not rich. Everybody can't donate money to campaign.
No. But you know what we can do? We could donate $50 to a PAC, Charlamagne. We should be talking about PACs.
So creating a black PAC or creating your own party.
Here's the thing about creating your own party. I'm just going to be candid with you. I would love to see the day in theory that we can have an independent third party, because, you know, I'm an independent and been one for over 10, 15 years, because I don't really like either one of these parties. We've had this conversation. But these parties, they're too big to fail. The infrastructure behind both the Republican and Democratic Party is hundreds of years old. They've got $1 trillion, and the infrastructure is too big to fail. So a third party will always just be symbolic. That's the truth when it comes to political power play. My recommendation, y'all, for Black political power to take that electoral influence that we do have at the polls, don't give it up by boycotting a vote. That's not smart, because then they're going to say, well, damn, Black people not giving us no money. Black people not turning out to vote in general, because you're not going to get, even if Black people did what, you know, you're potentially suggesting, Shar, we didn't go vote for Biden. Most of us are not about to go vote for Trump. So now we just take ourselves out the equation. And you best believe that train moving forward with or without us.
I'm not telling people not to vote. What I'm saying is, what you're essentially saying, we have to find a way to get something for our vote. You got to demand something for your vote, because if you vote for a party 90% of the time, and you talk about going back to where we were, where's the Black community going back to? Black community been in shambles. All these underlying.
Yeah, but
Another thing, Ebony, you pointed out was also talking about just legislation and just the judges and all of that. That's also what Donald Trump has done while he's in power, and the people that he's appointed.
That's my answer to you, Charlamagne. Angela just gave it to you. Where are Black people going back to? All of that. And that matters to me more than anything you're going to do in 4 or 8 years. Those federal appointments are lifetime, y'all. And they make decisions about everything from schools to prison to church, freedom, religion. All the basic tenets of our society are actually controlled and dictated to us through the United States Supreme Court and other federal courts, federal appellate courts, federal district courts. So Donald Trump's destroying of any balance on the bench, Charlamagne, that's more damaging than any of us can even speak to in this moment. So
it's very hard. It's very hard to convince Black people in the hood that they can vote their way out of their circumstances because they've never seen it. Doesn't matter.
But they can't. I actually agree with you on that. Now that's where we agree, my friend. We cannot vote our way, and that's what I'm saying. That's the voting is simply a starting point. It is when I submit to you, we should not and cannot afford to give up. But I really want to get back to this PAC shit because to me, that's the only thing we haven't done yet that I think really could make a difference. Because when we become political power players and we can really, it's like a card game, y'all. You can sit on the sidelines and, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, but until you got the buy-in, whatever that, with $20,000, $10,000, $500, until you can buy your way, you ain't even in the game. Yeah, y'all, Black people politically, we've not been in the game, Envy.
But the thing is I agree with what you're saying, right? You talk about the NRA, and the NRA has what? Financial power, right? They have financial power. So
absolutely.
Go against them. You talked about Planned Parenthood. They have financial power, right?
Teachers unions.
Yeah, right. But then you talk
police
about
unions.
Police unions for sure.
Police unions.
Community, right? You talk about the Black community, right?
Yeah.
A lot of us, we don't have that financial power, right?
That ain't true.
But hold on.
I'm gonna stop you right there, but go ahead. Go ahead.
We don't have it together. We're not organized together like the police.
Okay. Yes.
Like the like that. So now let me ask you a question, right? Let's say like what Charlamagne and Diddy said. Like, you know what? Hold on, Joe Biden. We're not just gonna be Black and just say because you're Democrat, we're gonna vote for you. Let's see what you're gonna do for our community first. Let's take a step back. Let's make you work for our vote. Not just say, I got you Black people already. I ain't worried about you. I'm gonna keep it moving, because that's what it seems like with a lot of these things. So I almost feel like as a community, like what the Jewish community would do, we take a step back and say, hold on, bro. You ain't got our vote yet. What are you gonna do for our community? You look at all these other places, you talk about NRA, they take care of the NRA. They take care of Planet Hood. They take care of the NYP, the police commissions and all those, but they never take care of us. They haven't even, at least.
Because we're not in the game.
Right. You need to be able to pick up that phone and make that call, just like the NRA will make a call.
Everybody can't do that, though. Everybody
yes, we can. Yes, we can. Okay. Pause, everybody, for 2 seconds. I hear you, and I hear you loud and clear, and you're all making excellent points. That's where I push back. Envy, you're right. The reason why they take care of those people and they don't never take care of us. They don't never take care of us. We all agree on that. Because we're not even in the game. That's what y'all, I want you to really get that sharp. We think we're in the game because we show up and we vote religiously, but we're not in the game. Voting doesn't get you in the game. It's only influence. It's not power. And I disagree that we can't do what these communities do. There is a lot of Black, not just wealth. Of course, there's individuals in the Black community. We have Black billionaires. They can write those big $20 million checks to get us started. But that's not really what's going on in AIPAC. That's not really what's going on in Planned Parenthood. What's happening is everyday people that are deeply passionate about women's reproductive rights and deeply passionate about Israel, or deeply passionate about their jobs as police officers or their jobs as teachers. They're giving $2,000 a year religiously. They might, they're giving $50 a month religiously, but they're doing it, to Envy's point, in an organized fashion. Right. It's all going into one pot. That's why I keep going back to this PAC situation.
Form our own PAC and then have that political power.
There are Black PACs, though. We can't act like
I know.
There are.
No. Okay, so one of them that I'm really familiar with, I know the founder, Stephanie Brown James. She's dope. She's the co-founder of Collective PAC. Collective PAC is a Black PAC. Yes, y'all. And they really are doing it cool because they're playing the game on all levels. They got a regular PAC. So let's just break this down so everybody knows what we're talking about here. A PAC is a political action committee. It is able to give money and support and engage with candidates. A regular PAC is allowed to do that. It's allowed to say, Angela Yee is running for mayor of New York City. We love her platform. We love what she represents. We're going to give Angela Yee up to $5,000. Now, keep that in mind. PACs, regular PACs, they're capped at $5,000 buy-in. They cannot give you more than that because they are engaging with you.
Mm-hmm.
Super PACs, they can give unlimited funds. And that's what a lot of these things are. They're super PACs that APAC is using, that NRA, Planned Parenthood, all these other big power players are using, because it's unlimited. You can give 50 million, 5 billion if you want. But the caveat there, the catch, you can't engage with the candidate. So y'all see all these ads for Trump running, and we see Trump in the commercial, and it's about Trump's platform. But at the end, it don't say paid for by the campaign of Donald Trump. It says paid for concerned citizens of America. See that disconnect? That's because that's a super PAC. So it gets to fund him unlimitedly. And then that's a game changer. So that's what I would suggest. I think collective PAC is a way to start. Like you said, Charlamagne, there's more Black PACs out here. But to me, that's really the conversation we need to be having. How do we amplify these PACs? How do we pool our resources in an organized fashion, like Envy said? And then let's enter the poker game. Let's stop being on the sidelines.
I agree with that. That's why I'm not mad. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say hold the vote hostage, but I do say demand.
I thought you said that.
No, did he say
that?
No.
Oh, my bad. You know, my hearing ain't as good as it used to be. You know, I'm almost 40.
Yeah, I understand what it means. You know what I'm saying? You hold something hostage until you get what you want. And listen, we can't act like collective pressure hasn't changed the conversation. Joe Biden's been talking about race. Joe Biden's been talking about race a lot more. He's been saying how he wants to dismantle systemic racism. Now that conversation about having a Black woman running mate is a real thing at the forefront, because up until about a few weeks ago, it was all about claiming Amy Klobuchar.
Yuck. No. Listen, I'm not mad. Sorry, I'm not mad at the pressure. I like the pressure. Keep the block hot, and we need to keep the block hot after this moment that we're in right now, right? So we agree about that. I simply was saying that's, to me, that's I hope that was a bluff tactic, and I think it's worked in our favor. But to actually stay home on November 3rd, we can't do that.
Well no, you're right. But here's the problem. This is what scares me. If you look at 2016, this looks very similar to 2016. We still don't know how Trump won then. Double digit.
No, y'all don't know how Trump won. I came on y'all's show as soon as that went down, and I told you I knew, because I was inside the building over there at Fox News. I knew they were organized. They had a singular voting interest. Y'all heard about single issue voters? Mm-hmm. Trump was elected because of millions and millions and millions and millions of white people across this country that had a single issue. You know what it was? To keep their knee on our necks. As Black people, as Hispanic people, and anybody else that is not of their birthright of whiteness and therefore superiority in America. And Trump ran on that. He ran on it, y'all.
You know
publicly, what else unapologetically, and they voted on that issue. That's how he won. I knew he was going to win.
You know what else they did good that nobody paid attention to? Well, I'm sure they did, and you did, because you was over there. But for 8 years, they demonized Barack Obama.
Yeah.
Made it seem like he was un-American. He was the end of democracy. And we were so happy about Obama. We weren't paying attention to what was getting riled up on the other side.
Right.
But they definitely wasn't going for no more Black people, and definitely wasn't going for a woman after Barack.
They wasn't going for no woman. They wasn't going for anybody that wasn't aggressively upholding and violently enforcing the status quo of Black subordination, women staying in their place, and white men maintaining their implicit power structure in America. That's 1,000% correct. Trump's election and his sustained stronghold on the party, because there's no more Republican Party. Ain't nothing but the party of Trump. If that's why you see all these scared GOPers, you know, talking about I'm kind of I don't like him, I don't want to vote for him, but they know their political life depends on it, because they can't afford to separate themselves from Trump, because he's the only thing they got going. That is totally, though, a direct reaction to Barack Obama, because Barack Obama said, y'all see this slave ship behind me, this of the Middle Passage? Barack Obama said, we're done with that there. Barack Obama said there's a new place for Black men in America, and it's in the White House. And these white folks weren't having it.
Eboni, what are your predictions for November?
I was feeling good, Angela, and then you said that. Well, listen, I think anything's possible. In all sincerity, I do think anything's possible. I'm a woman of faith. I think and I do believe he will, because I think he knows he really has to. I don't think Joe Biden is a dumb man. And I think he recognizes this moment. And I think he has some brilliant Black women on his team, including my sister Simone Sanders, who is going to tell him he really don't have a choice at this point if he wants any kind of Black voter turnout, but to put a Black woman on that ticket with him. Yeah, he got to. He got to. He got to. Even if he don't want to, it don't matter. He got to. Otherwise, it's going to be 2016 all over again. To Char's point, we will stay home, because regardless of what I'm saying, you know, I'm deep in the weeds with this shit. I'm in my legal bag. I'm obsessed with the federal courts. I don't represent majority Black voters in that single interest, right? Black people want real everyday change they can feel. They want jobs. They want health care. They want their children in good schools. And we want it now. And we should. Let me be clear, we should. But Joe Biden is not going to get anybody excited about any of that possibility by himself. So he has to put a Black woman on the ticket. I'm curious. I want to ask y'all real quick, just because I'm curious, I'm nosy, and I love all of y'all's points of view on it. Starting with you, Angela, what particular Black woman do you think will best rejuvenate Black interest and support?
Well, I think I like Val Demings.
Okay.
So I will say that. I would, I feel like Kamala Harris would be a powerful pick for him. I know that people have really mixed feelings about Kamala, but I also feel like people also vote a lot of times based on, I hate to say this, but also recognition. Like, I feel like people are very familiar with her also because she was, a candidate. They love the things that she's saying and doing. Bless you. And although they call into question a lot of what she did when, she was in office, I do feel like people still will turn out and say, okay, we're hopeful because of the things that she's doing now. And I think a lot of times we do have to look at not just people's records from the past, but also what are you doing right now and what are your plans for the future? And I do like the things that she's been saying now.
Great. Okay, so you got Kamala and Val. Envy, who you got?
I like Kamala. That's my choice, my pick. I like her as a person. I like a lot of the stuff that she's doing and has done. Of course, everybody in politics has a history, and I'm pissed off they talk about her history and her prosecution level and what she's done. But I feel like they do that for Kamala Harris, but they didn't do it to Joe Biden the same. The fact that they said that she's not Black and she's this and so many things that she's done, I can relate to her. My daughters can relate to her. I see her. I see where she comes from. So I really like Kamala Harris. That would be my pick.
That's your pick. Shar, who you got?
It's between 4 for me, but I don't really know Val Demings that well. I don't think Val Demings would work because she's the chief of police, and I don't think you can have a chief of police on your ticket at a time like this. Stacey Abrams, I like Stacey, and I think Keisha Lance Bottoms is interesting, but I gotta go Senator Kamala Harris. I'm Senator Kamala Harris all day. I think Senator Kamala Harris is, intelligent. I think that she's got experience, and she makes old white men nervous. Jeff Sessions said it out his own mouth. He was like, she makes me nervous. And I just think she brings a lot to the table, from being a Howard University grad to being an AKA. And I just think she's really sharp. And when you sit down and you actually that's what I want people to see. I want people to see Senator Harris, the Senator Harris I see when I'm having conversations with her, which I'm starting to see more of now.
Yeah. Listen, I think when you've been in politics a really long time, anybody, Black, white, or other, they get a little bit of a mask. It's not being phony or fake necessarily. It's just a presentation style that they feel politics demands. But I think politics are changing. And now people get to see you can actually show up just your regular ass self.
Yeah.
And still be sharp and still be on your shit. And just people will buy that now. People will not hold that against you. I think there was a time in politics, y'all, that was held against people. It was seen as unprofessional or whatever. But now people really embrace that style. And I agree with you in total alignment there, Charlamagne. And what I'm hoping is to have my good soul, Kamala Harris, come join me on Black News on Revolt and have that conversation one-on-one, like we just kicking it over a glass of wine. We just kicking it, and talking shop, talking about this new legislation that she just rolled out, Justice and Policing Act 2020, her and Cory Booker, Karen Bass and what's his name, Jerry Nadler rolled out extremely comprehensive legislation, right? And And it's fantastic in that comprehensive way. It's bold. It gets rid of chokeholds federally. It gets rid of blatant racism and discrimination federally. It does a lot of things. It does training and de-escalation training.
Yeah,
no
knock entry.
No knock warrants. Yeah, no knock warrants. No knock warrants are so problematic, y'all, for obvious reasons. And I would submit to you, the one that was used to kill Breonna Taylor and murder her in her own home, I would submit that no knock warrant was authorized unlawfully. Because even as it sits now, there's a legal standard that says no knock warrants are inherently dangerous. Everybody knows that. Of course, when you roll up on somebody in their damn house unannounced,
in plain clothes,
in the middle of the night, what you think you gonna get? That's crazy. And we all know America's so fond of our Second Amendment rights of self-protection and arms, right? We want to talk about that all the time. And I'm a Second Amendment fan as well. But when we as Black people step into our Second Amendment power to defend ourselves and our loved ones and our home, it's a problem. Because Breonna Taylor's fiance, who shot an officer in the leg, he was originally charged.
Right.
And they had to roll back on that. But no knock warrants are messed up, and they're only supposed to be used in the most exigent of circumstances.
If somebody's kidnapped, sex trafficking.
Yeah, and they're going to destroy evidence. That wasn't even applicable in Breonna Taylor's case. The real culprit they were looking for was already in custody. So that's why we saw that local mayor say immediately after this came to public attention and outrage that they were going to disband temporarily no knock warrants. So that lets me know, Mr. Mayor, you knew they were being unlawfully and improperly used in the first place.
Now you were you were a public defender, right?
I was.
You prosecuted a lot of cases.
I defended a lot of cases.
How difficult would it be to prosecute the killers of George Floyd, those 4 officers? How difficult would that be?
It's going to be. I'm going to tell y'all, it's going to be extremely hard. Don't even get your hopes up. And so Kamala said essentially the same thing on The View just a couple of days ago. I'm going to tell you why. And I already told you this, Envy. I love you, Envy. I told you this already back in 2018. Because even though we have the cameras and we all saw what happened, the current statute that dictates deadly force for officers simply requires it to be deemed reasonable, and that's open to any kind of interpretation. I'm so excited to share this with you. This was the main reason I was so looking forward to joining y'all today. In addition to what Corey and Soar Kamala have put out, which is important, and I want people to really make noise about that. But the reality is that packaging is very comprehensive. It's extremely broad, and it has zero bipartisan support. Not a single Republican. It's not getting passed, and it's just not.
They can use it as a marketing tool, though. They should use it to say,
and that's important.
Look what we're doing, and they won't pass it.
Look what I'm doing. Look what we're doing. They won't pass it, but keep applying the pressure. So that and this is really how politics are played, and it's brilliant. It can be very effective. So what they're doing is extremely important and necessary for the work that I'm involved in. So right now I'm working with a very experienced legislative team, and you're aware of this work, Charlamagne. You know exactly what I'm referring to. And what we're doing is drafting similar legislation, but that is much more specific, not nearly as broad, and it speaks exactly like I was like, I'm not even working with y'all if y'all don't get this here on the paper. We are elevating the deadly force standard from one of reasonable fear, to necessity. Now the burden will be on the officers to prove that deadly force was necessary, absolutely objectively deemed by a reasonable officer standard necessary to use deadly force. And now when that is the law of the land, Envy, that is when we will see some kind of convictions for the killers of George Floyd. But right now it's not there. But we're working on it. I'm excited about it. We're trying to get it passed. We're literally drafting it with Democrat and Republican co-sponsors. So that will be brought into the table. I told you this, Charlamagne, you didn't want to hear it in 2018, but you appreciated my point, which is sad but true. Law enforcement has to be a part of this conversation. So the legislation we're drafting, we're getting, if not full buy-in, consideration from law enforcement organizations across the country, particularly Black law enforcement organizations, because when we do this, y'all, it makes officers safer. That's the truth. They get safer when they are accountable, because the Black community and other communities of color or oppression are not, there's more trust. There's more trust between the communities. So yeah, I'm excited to work on it. It will be rolled out very soon. You will be hearing details, all of y'all, about it in your audience. And when it is rolled out, this is where I need people to step up, because people have been DMing me. Shar, you did me a huge favor, and I appreciate you so much, brother. You posted that 2018 video recently on your Instagram, and now I'm flooded with DMs. Sis, we get it. Thank you so much for explaining it to us. Now what do we do?
Right.
Now what do we do? I'm gonna tell you what you need to do is when I come back here, or relay it to y'all, and you guys relay it to your audience, and I tell you this is the legislation. Make noise. Put it on social. Call your congressmen and women, call your senators, literally. And when there is a groundswell that looks like this protest movement that's going on right now, they will have no other choice but to pass, because this will be our mandate. This will be our political mandate. It's pass this piece of legislation so we can get justice for our community.
And
so that's what it looks like.
You said something that's very important, because it does get frustrating when people act like certain folks aren't doing the work. So like, just because you don't see us on the front lines at the protest doesn't mean that things aren't getting done, because there's a lot of things moving that people have no idea. And by the way, that's the way I think Black people, I think that's the way we should move. Keep our heads down.
We got to keep our heads down and do the work. And that's important. That's so important, Shar. And I know every single one of us in this conversation is doing a lot behind the scenes. We're doing a lot of shit behind the scenes.
And I think there's definitely space for different people to have different roles. Some people will be on the front lines. Some people will move behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Both of those.
Listen, sister, the work Sister Tamika Mallory is doing is transformative. The power of visibility.
Until freedom. And right now, I spoke to her yesterday, and she can't even say where she is because she's getting so many death threats, because she is so visible. But she's out
so powerful.
Doing the work.
So powerful. Yeah, man. So that arm of it has to be in gear. But then also the arm that I'm involved with has to be in gear, right? This legislative, literally pen to paper, redlining. Nah, that ain't gonna work. We need to tighten up the language here. Like, it's a process, y'all. We be on email chains and phone calls and Zooms all night and all weekend too. My ain't no fun day Sunday over here. We working.
Too much work.
We working. Yeah. So I appreciate that, y'all. Oh, and I was gonna say real quick before I leave. I like Keisha Lance Bottoms a lot for VP. Actually, I'm gonna tell you why. I do.
Okay.
I do. And I'm gonna tell you why. And she's a Delta, but I like her still. I'm just joking. I love you, Mayor Keisha. I like Mayor Keisha because she steps, and not necessarily over Kamala. I want to be clear on that. I like both of them for different reasons. One thing I like about Mayor Keisha is she doesn't have, as Envy pointed out, any real kind of
baggage,
polarizing effect, I'll call it. She's pretty broadly liked by the community in general. I think her leadership, particularly in the wake of COVID-19 and in the peaceful protest, and then the co-opting, the co-opting of our movement by outrageous, white civilians and all that stuff in her community, checking that, bringing Killer Mike to the podium as a collaborative, as a co-conspirator of leadership, I thought was brilliant. Firing those cops. Yeah. What'd you say?
Anti-I, they're actually on her team.
Oh, Anti-I. Yeah, Anti-I.
On her team. I forgot their exact title, but they're on her team.
Yeah, because she really understands that this shit has to be collaborative. You know what I mean? Firing those cops was big. So she, to me, is interesting in that way, because her leadership is local, but it's very strong. And I think that executive's leadership model translates very well, actually, to a VP ticket. I don't think she has the name recognition, of course, of Kamala Harris. But I think Keisha checks a lot of boxes, for lack of a better term. I think she's the very smart, sharp, capable, not playing with you, gonna get it done, pretty approachable middle school teacher we all wanted.
Yeah, there's only, when I think about Keisha and Stacey, there's only one thing that comes to mind, and I don't even like to say that because that's been disproven so many times, and it's that a person isn't ready. You can never say when a person is ready. You know what I mean?
Listen,
you said the same thing about President Obama.
I was gonna say, respectfully to President Obama, in terms of political, like real leadership, it was thin. The resume was thin. President Obama served, I think 10 years in the state legislature, not knocking it, but that's by no stretch some massive leadership platform. And then he had just been elected to the United States Senate like 6 months, when he announced. So that wasn't really like his bag. His bag was community building. His bag was connecting people. His bag was being able to stand before the American people and instill confidence in us and instill hope and vision and a fierce urgency of now to change the direction of this nation. And to me, that was ready enough. Absolutely. It was ready enough.
Well, thank you, Ebony. We appreciate you so much. I think, when you come on this platform and you're able to speak about all these different things that might be confusing for some of us and bring some clarity, it is really beneficial and helpful.
Always
and I know,
appreciate it.
As always, just so intelligent, heart is in the right place. Excited for your new show on Revolt TV, Black News.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Love everything you're doing.
I love everything you're doing, Angela. You are still, so boss, so entrepreneurial, beyond the media work. I love what you're doing in real estate. I love what you're doing in the Brooklyn community. You're just fantastic, sister, and you're such a queen, and we love you. Shah, you know how I feel about you, bruh. It goes no bounds. I truly credit you solely for introducing me to this aspect of our culture from a media standpoint, but not for you. Me hosting Black News on Revolt probably would not be happening. And I'm aware of that, and I'm grateful to you for that. Envy, you and what you represent for the culture, your family is so beautiful. Your leadership and your family model is beautiful and powerful to me. And I just appreciate y'all. What you guys stand for in the culture it's invaluable. So
Feeling is mutual.
love y'all. Love y'all. See you soon.
All right, Ebony.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.